So, it has been a long year. But I'm not going to talk about real life. I'm going to talk about Fortnite Chapter 6. The most controversial chapter ever, somehow more than Chapter 5. Look, there's a lot to say about Chapter 6. All 6 seasons of Chapter 6 have brought good and bad things to the game and heavy discussion among fans. From the lowest player count in history to some of the highest ever, Chapter 6 has been very diverse in its likability. But was it actually good, or was it just a pile of shit like some people keep saying it is? Well, I don't really have an answer for that yet, so let's just start at the beginning of Chapter 6. Alright, firstly, before we get into Season 1, let's start with Remix. I did not make a review on Remix. I didn't have much to talk about, and I didn't really want to make one about it. It was a short season, being a month long like OG, and I've made a point of not really going over mini seasons. I mean, I will in this video with Galactic Battle and the Simpsons season, but I didn't talk about them in their own videos, and I won't. I liked Remix. It was pretty good and an overall fun season. People were mad about the rapper stuff, I guess, which is reasonable, but people getting mad that it sucks when this is literally the exact same thing as Chapter 2 Season 2, but you can sprint, mantle, and slide. That's pretty much it. After all the excitement and playtime, the end of Chapter Live event, the most controversial chapter of all time, Chapter 5, was coming to an end. We then got a sneak peek at the Chapter 6 map, and the next day, we went into Chapter 6 Season 1, Hunters. There's always hype about a new chapter, and off Remix's huge success, there was plenty of hype for this chapter. The map was incredibly detailed and was absolutely ginormous, both a blessing and a curse for the future. This season definitely shows the map at its most vibrant and most interesting. Everywhere is just purely beautiful, and it's really sad that this all wore off season after season for reasons I will talk about later. We started out with a whole revamp of loot. Obviously, this happens every chapter now. Besides the very unbalanced Typhoon Blade, the loot pool wasn't completely a one-sided battle. Well, maybe also the Shogun X medallion was overpowered, but whatever. Of course, the Hollow Twister was way better than the Fury Assault Rifle, and the Sentinel Pump was way better than the Twinfire and Oni Shotgun, but still, there were reasons for taking the other, except for the Oni. The Oni masks, however, were amazing additions, along with sprites and boons as Chapter 6's special little feature, similar to medallions from Chapter 5 and augments from Chapter 4. There were 2 seasonal events, Winterfest and Godzilla's collab. Winterfest was great. It's always one of the best times to be playing Fortnite. Between Fortnitemares, whatever the fuck they cook up in November, and the launch of a chapter in December, it's always the best time. They actually covered most of the map in snow, which is great because that didn't happen at all in Chapter 4. The Godzilla event was really the first marker of Epic constantly adding transformation events throughout the chapter, and this is the only good one. The thing about this season is that people just didn't really care for it. It's really that simple. There wasn't that many reasons for it besides the Typhoon Blade and shit like that. Maybe coming off Remix, people were disappointed in Chapter 6, but also that happened with Chapter 5, and now Chapter 5 Season 1 is one of the most favorited and glazed seasons of all time. But I think the main 3 issues were, 1, the Typhoon Blade, for obvious reasons. 2, durability being kind of an issue amongst new items, including the Kinetic Blade, which was unvaulted, and then just completely useless because of durability. And 3, the map. Yeah, that was a problem. People throughout Chapter 6 have had problems with the map, and while I agree with many arguments from later down the line, the Season 1 map was the greatest version of this map, as I believe the same for Chapter 5. I mean, people were talking about this map already looking like the fully completed map, like something that you would see at the end of a chapter. But I don't think that really matters as much as the map being unbelievably big, and bots started becoming a very large problem as player numbers dropped throughout the chapter. I did like this season quite a bit in the end, and it actually demonstrates a creative and interesting gameplay loop and proof that Epic Games can actually make cool concepts into cool seasons. My final updated rating of this season is a 7.75 out of 10. And now with Season 1 done, we move on to Season 2. This is my personal favorite season of the chapter, but I'm not sure if that's a popular opinion or not. It was very interesting seeing the main ad campaign for the season be some of the biggest promotions ever in Fortnite history, and it was all about a pickle. The one word leak on Twitter was pickled, the tagline was "Dill with it," and Big Dill, the rapping pickle in the battle pass, had real life beef with T-Pain, which was covered in a YouTube short by Anthony Fantano. Does this have anything to do with robbing banks? Anyway, the whole issue with this season amongst the community happened because, wait, how did we get here again? Oh, I forgot to talk about the story of this chapter. Yes, because I myself keep up with the confusing Fortnite story at this point in the big November 2025. Last season, when the 0-point shard crashed on the island, it reopened ancient portals to the spirit realm and reactivated the Oni masks that were part of this island's magic. Oninoshima. Oninoshima. Oh my god. Daigo from the Season 1 Battle Pass, his family studied the Oni masks, and his two siblings, Kendo and Jade, don't really do that anymore. Hope and Jonesy, who crashed on the island after the remix event, had to try and investigate without any of their shit, which was left on the Rocky Chapter 5 island. They have to fight back against the demons who have taken over people like the Night Rose, who's actually a good guy who is just taken over by a demon called the Puppeteer, which we see in the boss fight. Jade gets trapped in the spirit realm because of Daigo's mistake, so he tries to get her back by crafting more Oni masks. Shogun X is the big bad guy of the season who tries to kill Daigo when he tries to save his sister, but he uses 0-point infused blades to kill him, overloading the portal with, like, XP? I forget what it's called. Saving Jade and letting out a pool of gold to infect the portion of the map that is Night Shift Forest, because this frozen portal where Shogun X came out of is, like, right there. Anyways, the point of the gold was to distract the people of the island and bring chaos and greed to the island, which we see in Lawless, including the big bad of the season, Fletcher Kane. Crime City embodied Night Shift Forest properties, turning into nighttime and raining every time you entered. Lone Wolf Lair is very cool, holding a vault, and Shiny Shafts has a cool secret vault and it was a great POI to traverse and fight in. Also, this entire biome has rivers going through it that are infused with Gold Rush, which is a very cool new effect that they added to this game, similar to Nitro, but not nearly as overpowered. The main feature of the season was the vaults and the black markets. It was a great gameplay loop that kept you invested without feeling too complicated, which is what I love in a season. Crime City, Lone Wolf Lair, Seaport City, and Mass Meadows all have vaults, and Fletcher Kane has the chance to spawn randomly in either one. Vaults would always have good loot, having 2 or 3 legendary chests, a bunch of gold, and 2 dill bits, which were used for the second big feature, black markets. Because the entire season revolved around gold, you were constantly gaining and spending it. And of course, when there's gold, there's Midas. Yeah, Midas is a part of another season 2, and I like how this was handled more than him in Chapter 5. You can rob the train. Also, this was the first time Battle Royale had exotics since Chapter 4, in the form of 14 new ones. Lawless is severely underrated and deserves to be in the discussion as one of the best seasons in recent years, rivaling Remix, Chapter 5, Season 1, and Chapter 4, Season 4. Because of all this, my ranking still stands from months ago, and I am giving Lawless a score of a 9.5 out of 10. Because of Daigo being convinced that he can save the island from the spirit realm still being like a dangerous force, Fletcher Kane partners up with him to get like a bunch of power and stuff. But Daigo starts to get corrupted by the Dark Presence, a force mentioned in Season 1 by Jade after she's rescued from the spirit realm. Kane is killed, I think, I don't know, there's no live event where he gets defeated, but Daigo is corrupted into a demon and shoots a giant beam of light into the sky. He went back to Mass Meadows where he kind of hid for the entirety of this mini-season, but the beam of light, that attracted the Death Star. Yay! What did I say about collab season? They will most likely not be very good, because you are basing an entire season on one IP, and you can only do so much. Though I do have to say the 3 franchises that currently have a whole season on them have enough content to support even a 1-month season, which is good enough. I'm not the biggest fan of Star Wars at all, so when I heard about the annual May 4th Star Wars update being a whole month-long season, I was not excited in the slightest. This season sucked so much ass. They made the entire loot pool Star Wars guns. even though Star Wars guns in the past all sucked. But there was one good AR, no good SMG, and a bunch of just random shit thrown into the loot pool like the Wookiee bowcaster from Chapter 5. You cannot create a fun and interesting meta using only laser guns with no ammo, and that mostly just suck. When your shots aren't hitting at all and what the damage they're hitting for is just terrible, you're not having a fun time. Besides the Jawa shotgun, which is the only good shotgun with one shot, and the IQ-11 DMR, the only good DMR in history, I didn't really like any of these guns. The thing about having 6 other Star Wars updates in the past, there's only so much you can do and so many skins you could add. Like, who decided Poe Dameron should be in the Battle Pass? The only interesting and cool new ideas added were the X-Wings and TIE Fighters, which I do admit were cool and I did actually like them. Tell me why the 4 POIs were all on the corners of the map, had nothing interesting to use besides a terrible lightsaber, a terrible mythic, and a terrible medallion. Even the mid-game island, which has been an incredibly good mid-game objective, has been ignored and unchanged and left behind with a mythic pistol for some reason. This season wasn't the worst thing ever, but it sure was bad. It is clear that doing seasons based on collabs won't work if you don't pull your work and integrate it into Fortnite as well as you can, which is why I think the Simpsons season is leagues better than this, which, you know, I'll get into later, but they actually pay attention and do their best to both respect the IP that they're taking this from and also integrate it into Fortnite in a good and cohesive way. And while I don't like Absolute Doom, it was so much better than this sad attempt of a season. AI Darth Vader is one of the most revolutionary things in gaming history, and it was wasted.
Mommy milkers will save the Empire.
My final score of this season is a nice, clean 3 out of 10. So coming off one of the worst seasons of all time and 3 consecutive years of divisive Season 3s, Fortnite Super had a lot to live up to. And it did. After the end of season event, the Death Star exploded, sending a bunch of rubble to the ground. A piece of it actually hit the Spirit Realm portal in Magic Mosses, creating an explosion that knocks a battle bus out of the air, coming crashing down. Superman sees the Death Star explosion and shows up to see what's going on, saving the battle bus before it crashes on the ground, and all the passengers in that bus have gained superpowers. Daigo comes out of his hidey hole in Magic Mosses, creating a fortress called Demon's Domain, and starts harvesting the island of its energy and magic like Shogun X did in Season 1. The new superheroes, guided by Superman, start the Supernova Academy to fight against Daigo in his powers. And they have to be trained and whatever, so yeah. Again, we've lost a lot of the Japanese POIs, because they kind of have to, because, you know, the Season 1 map is pretty complete already. Again, like Lawless with Shiny Shafts, Supernova had a secret vault to unlock that also got removed after the season ended. It doesn't make sense why we're just nerfing these POIs to the ground. Throughout the season, we got plenty of other superhero items besides the main mobility item in the base boosts, and the kill switch revolvers, the main new cool gun. The base boosts, this is how you do mobility. Sure, the structure damage was way too much at the beginning, but it was nerfed properly and then didn't have any other problems for the rest of the season. But the Storm Beast, what could adding this possibly accomplish? It's a full transformation event that you can find out of a normal chest and has 4 uses. When this was added, honestly, my enjoyment of this season dropped exponentially. And then it was removed because of a glitch for a couple weeks. And then it was added back. These things were so ass at killing people, but they were just fast. Without this implementation, I feel like people would enjoy the season a lot more. But I've talked all about this before in my actual review. The main feature I want to talk about this season are the hero ranks. This is the perfect feature to make the entire game have a better purpose. In the big day and age of 2025, people don't fight, they prefer to run, especially in a season like Super with plenty of mobility. But with hero ranks, chests with good loot scattered around the map are unlocked when you achieve the next rank, going from C to S+. You can gain rank from surviving storm circles, killing bosses, and collecting gold, but mostly by killing people. You get good-ass loot and powerful boons for ranking up, giving actual purpose to your match. It also makes boons more prominent after being kinda out of the way in Season 1 and 2, and completely gone in Galactic Battle. I like the addition of new sprites, and it would be cool to see it again, except, oh wait, they were all eaten in Season 4. Great! I mean, so far, to me, this is the best season. behind Lawless, of course, at least in my opinion. But this one gets way too much hate for being the best Season 3, probably since Chapter 2. So my final ranking of the season is an 8.25 out of 10. Wow, what a name for a season. I really hope the awesome part of the title lives up to how the season actually is. Season 4 started as possibly the best season in the chapter and quickly nosedived into the very worst. Besides Galactic Battle, of course. Oh, and really quickly for the story. At the end of Super, Daigo summoned the Dark Presence from the Spirit Realm, who obviously betrayed Daigo, destroying Demon's Domain and trying to kill all the supernovas. Then Superman showed up after the supernovas could not take down the tentacles. He cut off one of the tentacles, and the presence had to retreat through the portal, leaving a severed tentacle to rot next to Demon's Domain. It attracted bugs from the Spirit Realm to come to the tentacle, while Daigo regains control of himself, and Superman just leaves. But yeah, that's how we get to this season where the bugs begin to overrun the island. There wasn't much hype behind the season, and even myself was a little concerned. I mean, we've done the invasion theme before, but we've also done the superhero, heist, and Japanese theme before, but I liked all three of those seasons, so maybe this won't be any different. On launch, it was so fun. Sure, not everything was balanced, not in the slightest, but the game was fresh and interesting. The Bug Queens dropped crazy good mythics and medallions. It was our first big biome edition since Season 2, which is kind of funny because in Chapter 5 we were constantly getting new biomes. The thing about this season is that there needed to be nerfs, but not this terrible of a moderation of nerfs. Oh my God, this is the stereotype of Epic nerfing fun stuff. Epic dropped literally every single plan of the season to change the loot pool, like trying to fit in the missing piece of the puzzle when that piece didn't even belong to the right puzzle. Ruining a perfect AR loot pool with scoped ARs that didn't fit in whatsoever, changing POIs and items just to be reverted or removed. They also made it so where nobody wants to drop anywhere. There is nothing special anywhere, and because there are so many POIs, every place besides a couple will just have bots. And the true sign of just pure laziness, no live event, but instead the entire point of the season, the bugs, left without a single trace in place of K-pop Demon Hunters for a week. I get the ending the story of the season before Fortnite airs, they have to do that, there's no problem with that. But leaving a week just for a K-pop Demon Hunters mini event, I feel as if this thing wasn't planned, and Epic started to target the issues people had with the season, not on the weapons anymore, because of course they fixed it by adding the Hollow Twister MK7 and Frenzy Auto Shotgun, but more on the bugs. So they just removed it and put in K-pop Demon Hunters that they were just gonna make their own little Demon Rush mode, but instead they put into BR to make people happy. This whole season past the first 2 weeks feels completely unplanned after just the pure unbalance of items that could have been easily balanced and managed, but instead Epic just fully went into panic mode. I think the biggest reason for this panic was the medallions, because these are probably the most overpowered medallions ever, and then they nerfed it to the ground and then they removed it and only put it in ranked for some reason, which makes absolutely no sense. I feel like medallions literally could have just not been in this season, or they could have just, nerfed them enough. People were still taking them, but they decided to just neuter everything, drop everything, because it's clear that they did not want medallions in this chapter. So they remove medallions, and to get player numbers back, they add old items and get rid of bugs super suddenly in place of something flashy, nerfing the entire point of the season, throwing literally everything out the window for a really just boring and flat gameplay loop. This is the most non-chapter 6 chapter in the sense that this is something that you'd see in chapter 5 season 4, not chapter 6 season 4. I feel like medallions kind of just weighed heavy on Epic's back for this chapter specifically, and I feel like having no medallions kind of would have been better, and boons were definitely the replacement for medallions, but they never really went with it, and those kind of got pushed to the side, while medallions had to take the fall and were blamed for everything, which they deserve to be blamed for. I'm not going to talk about it, but Fortnite Mirrors was just really, really good. But for being the last time on this map in this chapter before the second mini-season, which goes to a completely new map, it didn't end well at all. Including Fortnite Mirrors, this season is a 7. But I will not count Fortnite Mirrors as part of it because It's really a completely different season. My final score of the season is a 4.75 out of 10. We have come upon the final season of Chapter 6, the 1-month November season, which hasn't missed yet, and it's a Simpsons season instead of a Chapter 3 OG season, which a bunch of people thought it would be. And of course, I really wanted to love this season. The Simpsons is literally my favorite show of all time, but sadly, I knew it was going to be bad. I mean, come on. You're making a season based on The Simpsons. Until it came out, and it's in my top 3 seasons of all time. It literally doesn't get better than this. This is the most I've ever been surprised by a season ever. I mean, after what a mess season 4 was, even with The Great Four Nightmares, I was so ready for this, and it paid off. But first, how did we get here? Just let me go really quickly because I have to keep up with this trend. Kang and Kodos, the aliens from The Simpsons, showed up due to the dark presence and the treehouse. Bart's treehouse grew on the corner of the map. Jonesy tried to fix the anomaly that was the treehouse, but only opened a gate wide enough to let the dark presence through. After all the thinning of the border between our realm and the spirit realm, the dark presence emerged through the portal, the 0-point shard embedded in its chest. But before Hope and Jonesy can do anything, they are abducted by Kang and Kodos, who try to use them as bait for the dark presence, which they want as a mate because of its tentacles. I don't know, it's kind of funny. Because Hope fires weapons on the ship, the dark presence grabs it and sends it through a portal, which Kang tries to recalibrate, sending them to Springfield. Hope attempts to get them back to the island by fighting Kang before it's too late because, the dark presence literally just showed up to destroy everything. But they end up entering a merged reality between the island and Springfield. But before it's too late and they're fully through the portal, Hope abducts a tiny piece of the 0-point from the dark presence chest when it falls out of the ship when they enter Springfield because they get hit by Otto driving the battle bus, and I think Kang and Kodos die. But the 0-point shard lands in Homer's possession. He begins to use it to make Springfield a better place, a paradise, but by Homer Simpson standards. Hope and Jonesy team up with the rest of the Simpsons to stop Homer, to retrieve the shard and get back to the island to save it from the dark presence. But let's actually talk about the season. First off, the loot pool is magnificent. Besides the Ranger shotgun, and literally only the Ranger shotgun, everything can be picked up and it doesn't really matter to me. Having to find the bosses around the map can be annoying. Like, you're not guaranteed to ever find the bosses anywhere because you could be on the opposite side of the map from them. But having no specific POI that grants you an advantage allows the map to feel balanced, and you don't always need to overthink where you land. Like I said, The Simpsons is my all-time favorite TV show. And besides some really stupid and picky imperfections, they got this map down super well. So many details are so well done, and it just feels great traveling around this map. I mean, the Tire Fire, Duff Factory, Lake Springfield, the Gorge, Lard Lad, Camp Krusty, Skinner's house, having the oven burning like in the actual Steam Pans clip. It's so good. The cell shading is so pretty and turned out so much better than I thought. Because of the smaller map and 80-player rounds, the lobbies are definitely a bit harder and sweatier because everyone's both close together and hungry for kills. But people saying that this is a bad season because it is way too sweaty need to actually shut the fuck up, and that is the biggest skill issue problem I've literally ever heard. The new Simpsons weapons don't completely take over the season like Galactic Battle, which I like. Most of the new stuff is from Trails of Horrors, which is actually my upcoming video, ranking all the Trails of Horrors, but because I rewatched all the episodes recently, I got to see these weapons in the show. Mr. Blasty is genuinely a top 5 pistol of all time, specifically Krusty's exotic one. Literally all the top 5 pistols of all time are from Chapter 6. The deodorant applicator isn't great, but it's really creative. Bart's slingshot is sick. The cartoon chainsaw isn't even better than the normal chainsaw because of the no durability, and the animations are just really fucking funny. Donut storms are really cool, and the donut destruction feature is actually really sick. Getting new mythics of 3 old weapons rebranded to Simpsons theme, like the Red Eye Karumba AR, which is just a fucking genius name, and of course Moe's 5-gun, which is just really cool and such a niche reference, which I didn't think they'd be able to do, but they did, and it's an actual good gun, unlike the pump and dump. This is what happens when you get creative and respect and actually use the IP well with great tributes to it in the game. It's kind of funny that The Simpsons managed to have the best collab season in Fortnite ever. Yes, ever. I could talk about this season for hours. I loved it so much, and while I literally cannot put it above Lawless, Epic, please bring us more of these seasons if you're going to do collab seasons. This is just how you do it. We're now with the 0-hour event upon us, which may or may not have happened by the time this video comes out. Chapter 6 officially comes to an end. And the final season went out with a bang at a wonderful 9.4 out of 10. Epic Games clearly needed to up their game after Chapter 5. Even though I did enjoy Chapter 5, Chapter 6 was just much better, and people ignore the simple basics of that. With everyone becoming an expert on how Fortnite works for some reason, the player count was incredibly low for Fortnite standards. No, the game is not dead. It is nowhere near being dead. People have been saying this literally since Chapter 2. However, it did fall very far. There's a bunch of indecisiveness on both medallions and the new boon feature at Epic, leading to just absolutely no use for anything, really. Like, there's genuinely nothing to do at these random POIs, and the mythic POIs, especially in Season 4, felt incredibly stale. With a constant 18 or 19 POIs per season, which could have been avoided with a slightly smaller map, give us back 10 to 12 POIs at the start of the chapter. And also, don't nerf POIs like shiny shafts. Keep the vault. It gives a reason to go there, especially when you have all these filler POIs doing absolutely nothing and only like one bot drops there. I also want to touch on bots for a final time, which, let's be honest, this is the main factor of why Fortnite Battle Royale is failing. Fortnite should have an average of a 1% win rate, and that's how it should have been from the start back in 2017. Now, Chapter 6 was a big improvement from Chapter 5, with Season 1's being pretty equal in my opinion, Season 2 and 3 being way better than Chapter 5's, and the mini-seasons balancing out from The Simpsons' greatness and Galactic Battle's depths of hell. Looking strictly from a base level standpoint of gameplay loop, map, and loot, and absolutely nothing else, Chapter 6 falls just under Chapter 2 in my personal opinion, on a list that looks like this. With Chapter 4 and 1 being pretty much equal, it really depends on what you like and how you look at it. My final ranking of every season of Chapter 6 at number 6 is Galactic Battle with a 3 out of 10. 5 is Shockin' Awesome at a 4.75 out of 10. Number 4 is Hunters with a 7.75 out of 10. Number 3 is Super at an 8.25 out of 10. Number 2 is The Simpsons with a 9.4 out of 10. And number 1 is Lawless with a 9.5 out of 10. But thank you for watching me talk about Fortnite Chapter 6 from my point of view, and hopefully Chapter 7 takes the improvements and mistakes of both Chapter 5 and 6 and makes a truly good and loved chapter all around, even though that probably won't happen in the hell that is the Fortnite community. That's what we strive for, right? Improvement. You always want to be better, so I'm hoping Chapter 7 is even better.